All right, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome to the Risen Fallen podcast. I am your host, Mark Hendrickson. Welcome to the show. Happy Monday morning. It has been a hectic little while here the last week and a half. We've had provincial elections. We had Donald Trump jumping on pretty much every single huge podcast you could think of in the last month. We've had some immigration cuts talked about in Canada here. We've had a provincial, like I said, we had a provincial election here in BC, which we're still waiting to figure out when we might hear about the results. We're not really 100% sure. I think right now they're talking about final count. As I'm recording this, Saturday, October 26th, we're counting the mail-in ballots. It looks like for something about Victoria here. Sunday, October 27th, mail-in ballot count in Victoria will continue on Sunday. And then Monday, it looks like every electoral district across the province will conduct a final count process. That's Monday. So we'll hear about it soon. We'll figure it out. We're not 100% sure what's going on there. We've got, what's going on in politics down south in the States. We've got, here's a fun story. There's a Canadian town in, I think, Saskatchewan who literally can't find anyone who wants to run for mayor. So their mayor is about to resign. Mayor George Williams, who assumed office in 2021, he's going to resign pretty soon, and not a single person, not even no family members, no high school rivals. This is a town with a population smaller than some families here in the Vancouver area here. The town of Kyle. This is a town of Kyle. That town is called Kyle, Saskatchewan, and has never mind. This might not be we're talking about towns with 400 people. So those people are probably just trying to work and eat. Whole Foods got a waffle recalled this week. Suspected listeria contamination. I don't even know what half these words mean. The point is, what I'm trying to get to with all this is there's a lot going on in life. There's so much that's going on. And if you're tapped in on social media or you're looking at the news like I am on your computer here on a weekend, there's a lot to wrap your fucking head around. And then you start thinking about your own life. And then you're thinking about bills. You're thinking about, what's going wrong at work, so hopefully sometimes what's going right at work. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's pretty easy sometimes to, just allow your mind to get cluttered. To completely allow your mind to get just jumbled up and jarred up, where you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that, you're thinking about people in other places in the world that never will impact your life, probably never know you, never think about you, don't really care about you, and we're out here thinking about them, talking about them for hours a week, and and then you start thinking about your own life, and then and you can kind of go down this cycle where your mind is just consistently cluttered, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and you can't, some of us, like me, struggle saying no to things. Socially, we're like, oh yeah, I'll be there, dude, of course I got your back, of course for them, dude, I would never let them down, I'll be there, dude. And you start to never set boundaries for yourself, never have all this, and then you just find yourself in a place where you're just mentally cluttered all the time. And for some of us, that's kind of, kind of our baseline. I feel like a lot of the time when you grow up and you kind of have a stressful life, or you have, where you're under a lot of stress, or maybe you just don't really learn how to deal with stress, just being stressed and being anxious and being kind of combative and kind of always on edge is kind of a normal thing. It kind of becomes baseline. It becomes normal. So much so that, sometimes just that kind of a level of calmness or a level of serenity or peace, just a little bit of you sometimes, I don't know if you guys relate to this, but sometimes there's days where you just kind of wake up and you're I don't really have much to do today. And, I kind of just we feel bad when there's peace. We feel bad sometimes when there's just like, there's no conflict. Like sometimes we're looking for like, what do I have to fucking attack today? What do I have to, get after? Like there's got to be an enemy lurking around because, we just get so used to, and it was so, acclimated or climatized, whatever the word is, but like we get so used to that level of stress, that level of conflict and anxiety in our lives. And so when there's the absence of it, we're kind of like, yo, what's going on? What am I missing? Like, what am I not seeing here? Like it kind of like, and so I just kind of feel like sometimes we do the same thing with mental clutter as well. When we just always have like something on our mind, we're always thinking about things. Hey, what's going on at work? What's this problem I can solve in my life? What's going on with, this president? What's going on with that? Who's getting shot at now? There's so many things that we can get like kind of like concerned about, worried about. Sorry, I had to take a little tea break there, have a little sip at my tea, but there's so many things that you get caught up in, with, especially with, I get sucked into the politics. I get sucked into just kind of doom scrolling on social media. Like I get sucked into like, dude, when I hear about a Canadian town who can't find anybody to even run for mayor, it just gets me thinking. I'm like, do you even think about your mayor ever? Like, it's kind of no disrespect to, I don't even know who the mayor of my city is right now. It was Malcolm Brody for the longest time, but let's search up mayor. It is Malcolm Brody. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, Malcolm Brody, no disrespect to him, dude. He looks pretty cool. He looks like but whoever thinks about that, like, do they even, this guy's just been mayor since 1996. He's been in the city council. Dude, literally my whole life, that's what I was going to say is like, even when I was a little kid, he was like coming to fairs and parades and shit. Like, who's this guy? Anyways, sorry. There's so many things to get caught up in. And I feel like, even just like looking at our own lives, like even looking at myself, sometimes I've always felt like, especially when it comes to self-development and like kind of self-improvement, sometimes I always get caught up in this like mindset of like, well, I need to add to myself. I need to get this new thing. I have to get this new, I'll be good when I get this new job or new contract or new promotion, or I get this raise, I get this new place to live, I get this new truck, I get this new, I think everyone can relate to that. Like we're always kind of like, I'll be set once I have this next thing. And I think that, so many times in life we get kind of, cluttered up or we get kind of like focused on trying to get the next thing, trying to get to the next step. And we think that we have to keep adding. We have to, like the assumption is I'm not enough. And so I have to keep adding. There needs to be more. I need to be better. I need to improve. I need to add to myself to improve. And sometimes I feel like, in the same way that, sometimes it is true. Sometimes you do have to add to yourself. Maybe you have to add a new skill or a new level of discipline. Sometimes we do have to add to ourselves to improve. Sometimes that is sometimes it is like that. Sometimes it really do be like that. And I know that sounds, it sounds like, okay, then if I just need to add to myself to improve, then that's simple. But it's not, because sometimes there's other situations in life, like everything else. It's not just black and white. It's not just like this, like kind of, sometimes there is nuances. And sometimes it's not about, taking a blank canvas and adding color or adding paint to it or anything like that. But sometimes it's about taking a rock and maybe chiseling away and getting rid of some things to improve. Just kind of like you have to get rid of the sculpture, the rock around the lime. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense? Like, kind of like how a sculptor gets rid of clay or gets rid of rock to make their statue or their art. Like, they're kind of chipping away at the bullshit to what's like kind of uncover the beauty underneath. And so sometimes in life, like I said, you do have to add to yourself, and you have to kind of like try and see how you can improve. But sometimes it's about not just adding, sometimes it's about subtracting things. Sometimes it's about, kicking a bad habit, or sometimes it's about, sometimes it's just about cutting out some of our busyness, because so many of us get so stuck in like these cycles of, busyness versus productiveness. And I'm this type of person where I feel like if I'm not like fully booked up on my schedule, if I'm not like using every single hour of my day to do, get closer to my goals, I beat myself up. I get in this mindset of like, if I become busy enough, then I'll feel good because I'm always doing something, I'm always working, but it's not always productive or effective. And in fact, like obviously, if you're religious, it's biblical. If you're not religious and you just follow science and you look at the cycles of nature, you understand that everything needs rest, everything needs hibernation, everything needs, one day of the week or whatever it is. You can't just always keep adding, because if that's how you're going to live your life, you're going to I don't see how anyone thinks that that's sustainable. And so I fall into that mindset sometimes of like, what do I need to add to myself? What do I should pick up another hobby. That's what I always think to myself. I'm like, oh, if I should get into this, I should get into that. And sometimes it's about just kind of like, sometimes you need to subtract things, and sometimes you need to just like kind of be able to have a minute to just recalibrate and really take inventory of your life. And so, with mental clutter and having achieving some sort of mental clarity, I found that, the most effective thing that I've done recently is just to think about what are some of the things that I can start to say no to. What are some of the things that I can start to subtract from my life? Not just bad habits, but like even thought patterns and processes where I'm like thinking about, I found myself where I'm like, oh, this person, some people just get to chill in life, and some people just get to sit around and fucking, and, it's easy to compare yourself to those people and then think like, oh, well, I actually choose to do a lot of things. Like, it's not like I'm really like bound to this schedule of like, wake up and do this and do that and do this and do that. I think a lot of us, like I could say for myself, like I think a lot of people could say the same, that most of the things I do, like I actually just choose to do these things. And so like you can't really be in the position of like complaining about a busy schedule when you're the one that has the power to be like, no, I'm not fucking doing that, or hey, I got to focus on this, or whatever it could be. Like I think a lot of us, we create our own stress and we create our own level of kind of like, fuck, I got to do this, I got to do that. And this kind of like urgency in life. And I know for myself, looking back at some of the years, like, yes, it's obviously important to stay productive and disciplined. But if you look back at like some of the best times of your life, I know for me, it's like some of the best times were those times where I was kind of, not just like chilling, but also working, but where I was actually present enough to be like, yo, this is sick. This is actually dope. When I found those times where I could actually like, yo, we're just chilling. Like my coworkers ain't that bad. There's some pretty funny people I work with. There's some pretty nice people I work with. There's, it could be a lot worse of a crew. I'm sure that people are like, and I just feel like that kind of perspective shift of like understanding that our schedules get jam-packed with things that we choose to do. And so when you're busy and you're feeling like you have that cluttered up schedule, or your cluttered up mind, or too many things on your plate, like we just have to kind of reframe it in a sense that, you probably could just get out of whatever you need to do if you need to. You are the person that gets to set boundaries. And B, like if it's something that you've actually committed to and you're actually, people are relying on you, and you have to, you have to follow through with what you've committed. Like you've kind of, I guess that's kind of, everyone's going to be different on that. And some people are going to think, for different reasons, and I get it. Like this kind of like idea of like you gotta think about yourself first and do this and I do think that there is something about we have to stand by what we say. We have to, if you've committed to do something and there's people relying on you, you have to follow through with that. But after it's finished, then take it as a lesson of like, yo, I kind of bit off more than I could chew. I'm sure like everyone's dad always said like, yeah, oh, your eyes were bigger than your stomach. And I think that a lot of the time we, out of like this kind of like good natured kind of like people pleasing kind of like nature or essence, we kind of always, but like I said, bite off more than we can chew, or we kind of just got like in a position where we have a little bit too much on our plate and we start to stress out or get anxious, and then it makes us a less effective version of ourselves. If you commit to doing 10, 15 things a week, then you're probably only going to be able to designate like 15% probably tops of your energy to that thing. And so how effective are you really going to be? How well are these people, or are these people going to be like, oh yeah, this person came and helped me, but they were just stressed the whole time and they kind of just like caused a bit of like fucking mayhem and just kind of, hassle, or just like, is it really adding to it? Are you really, and it's, it's kind of just something that I've had to struggle, or, not even really struggle with, but just kind of overcome recently. It was just like, sometimes to add to ourselves, we got to take away. And I think that everyone's got something in their life. It's just like, yo, I could really do without. As much as it fucking sucks, and I don't want to, but I probably could do without. I think that's a beautiful place to wrap this up. So on that note, I'll let you guys go. Happy Monday. I'll check in with you guys next week. Much love. Peace out. Bye.